morning, folks. Welcome back to the farm. Another beauty of a day. Sunday morning here this morning. We're gonna get, I forgot my keys. I gotta get my red truck fired up and out of the way. It's parked right in front of the shop door. And I need the yellow tractor out. Today we're gonna get that molasses, that bottom 8-10 inches out of that molasses tote with a broken handle into a tote that does have a working handle so we can actually use it. I'm gonna get some keys here. You can hear the old backup beeper going there. That's the neighbor fella next door there. He's got a grader, so he must be digging his way out. I did that yesterday. Got all plowed out. I mean, still everything's still white, of course, but a lot easier to traverse around the yard than it was yesterday, that's for sure. I was actually pretty stoked yesterday because it was a nice day, so I got no problem plowing snow with that little yellow tractor. The only challenge is, does the guy ever have enough traction to be able to do what he needs to do with a light little 40 horse tractor when you're pulling all that snow? But what I realized is the main pivot point for this loader is actually, the fulcrum point is towards the rear. So if I'm finding that I'm running out of traction, even though I got the diff lock on, and I don't have no chains on, I do have a chain for this one, but I haven't put it on. But if I just lift the loader all the way up, puts all the weight across the back end, and there's almost nothing I can't do with this little tractor. So really the limiting factor is me. Well, it's what temperature, how cold can I possibly stand to go out there and work? And it worked fantastic. Anyways, I'm gonna get refired up, get over to the barn. I gotta get some forks on the bucket, and then we'll get that molasses tote that's currently on the little trailer there. I'll get it picked off, and I gotta undo the cage, slide the thing out of the cage, get the molasses. I'm gonna have to drill a hole right through the valve, so I'm gonna have to drill a hole through the valve, and then have it sitting over top of a new, what do you call that, membrane, I guess? Whatever is the inside of the plastic piece of the tote, right? We'll get it into a new membrane, drain it in there, and then slide that into the old cage, and then pop it back up on the trailer so that we can be giving those sheep that last little bit of molasses there. Now, I had some grief for this tractor over the summer. One day it just quit. Like, I just couldn't get it to fire. It turned over like a hot darn, but I could not get that thing to fire. And I fiddle farted around. Eventually I had my buddy Robin, aka Millionaire Farmer, come over, because you just kind of exhaust where you're at and you fool around with that with maybe the ignition switch, and I was fiddling around all kinds of stuff. And anyways, lo and behold, it was the points inside the distributor here that needed a little tweak, and there's actually a piece busted off in there, but we just adjusted it. We never actually replaced any parts, we just adjusted it. And get this, like, it just fires up like nothing still. Well, sometimes it pays to phone a friend. So what I don't have is a quick attach or anything like that for a set of pallet forks. What I got is these pallet forks here. They basically just clamp onto the cutting edge of the bucket, and they're 3 feet long. I got them from Weaver's auction up in that Rycroft area for, I think, about $100. They're rated for 1,300 pounds, so I wouldn't lift a full tote. Well, I probably would lift a full tote with it, but I just wouldn't film it. But just in case it went horribly wrong. But no, they work actually pretty doggone good. They work better actually on the big tractor than on that little Massey, because that little Massey, the bucket has like an extra thick cutting edge for some reason on the leading edge there, so it doesn't quite clamp as well. But for, like I say, 8 inches of molasses in the bottom of that tote, I'm not worried about them coming discombobulated or anything like that. right, so for as crazy as this sounds, and for as much as it can possibly go wrong, I think I have a plan here. So I've got tote A that's got some product left in it on the forks, ratchet strap back to the bucket so it can't go nowhere. I got tote B that's empty. I was gonna switch the membrane, but eventually I was just like, I don't know, that might be a real pain in the ass to try and get the membrane back into a cage once it's got product into it. So I had another tote. That's fine, well, that's what we'll do. So I'll pop the lid off of that. I'm gonna drill a hole in this valve right here. You can see the valve handle's busted right off there. That was real handy. So I'll drill a hole in there, fire up the tractor, tilt everything down. I'll put the spout on there, and then I'll just drain it into tote B. And I mean, it's just gonna go so easy. There's gonna be no mess. There'll be some mess, let's be honest with each other. There'll be some mess. There'll be a mess everywhere, but that's okay. Spill a little bit, better than having whatever, like 150 liters of, almost 200 liters of molasses that I can't use, right? So that's what we're gonna give it a try. And then if whatever during the winter or summer months, I can eventually get this valve off of here and get a replacement for it. I'm sure they're like $6 or something like that. I'll get a new valve put on there and we'll be able to use that tote again. Who knows, maybe a new membrane entirely is probably super cheap. I'm not sure, but anyways, the whole aim of the game here is not waste anything. So I don't have a whole bunch of huge drill bits, but I do have some spade bits here that I've used for drilling holes in big fence posts for like gate hinges and things like that. Not optimum for use on plastic, but that's a 7/8 hole. That's what we're going to use. Molasses flowing in December, it's going to go a little slow, so I need the bigger hole the better. Well, I got through there, but just with the tip, it's a little hard to go with the spade because it gets so hot, it just wants to melt the plastic. Oh well, we'll keep going here. Oh, never mind, just like that. If you just really put your back into it, it'll just break when it's 20 below. So before we go to the next phase of the operation here, put your tools away. I'll be leaving a DeWalt drill in the middle of the driveway, and that'll be an expensive lesson to learn. So put that away, then I don't got to run over it. And then next I'm going to get some WD-40 for the valve on the new tote, just because that valve has been, well, the last thing that was in it was water, and I left the valve open, and the valve does cycle back and forth. I just want to put a little moisture barrier there, just because we're going to get to top side of zero here in the next couple of days, and I want to make sure that doesn't melt and then refreeze, and then suddenly I've got molasses in this tote and now the valve is frozen shut and I'm in the same pickle. A little healthy batch there. There we go, in business. I got her. That's not bad. I was trying to run back and forth between the hydraulic and the tote to get every line lined up. I spilled a little bit, but that's okay. That's gonna work. That's gonna work better than expected, actually. All right, well, while that transfers, because you know all about molasses in December and how quickly that happens, I'm not going to stand there and watch that. I'll just check in periodically to make sure that the hydraulics aren't seeping or I'm not spilling all over the ground or something crazy like that. I'm sure as the weight shifts and everything in that tote, the bucket and the loader and everything's going to move a little bit. So I'll just come back and check on it periodically. But in the meantime, I'm going to have to get some lunch figured out for the chickens here, see what we got. So yesterday during our loop load, we did get about 20 cases of bacon. I'm gonna freeze that. That'll be good for the dogs. I got some cheese though. These cheese strings. What a pain in the butt this is gonna be, having to individually unwrap all these. But this I'm gonna give to the chickens. Then I got some produce and whatnot. A couple loaves of bread. Some fig bars. They'll have a good lunch today. One thing that is interesting with getting all this loop loads and stuff is you get lots of these clamshell packages, right? So there's a ton of plastic. What do you do with all that plastic? You gotta resist the urge to just run it all to the burning barrel, which, let's be honest, a lot of it ends up there, ends up in the landfill, ends up wherever it ends up. But if you've got a tray bottom like this, what could you use that for? Huh? Imagine if this was black. What would you have that was similar to that? Well, a seed starter tray. So, I mean, we're not quite February, March. We're not in the seed starting season yet. But I just know that come February, March, we're going to be running out to the Home Depot or wherever, PV Mart, and buying a whole bunch of these trays, because they only last for a few years before they get squished or squashed or cracked or whatever, right? So if you had a few of these kicking around extras, maybe you could put some potting soil in that and get your sunflowers and your pumpkins and your tomatoes and all that stuff started off early. And you know what? Fantastic. You could put one just opposite on the opposite side. Make yourself a little greenhouse. Waste not, want not, right? All right, got old Yeller put away there. I'm just gonna keep it between the shed and the grain bin there. So you can stay out of there. I don't need to keep it in the shop now. It's nice out now. I'm well within reach of a power cord if a guy needs to plug it in to use it again here in the next couple of weeks. Anyways, next thing on the agenda, let's get us a bucket and see, now that we've transferred all the molasses from one tote into a tote that we can actually use, let's go get a bucket and see if we can actually get some molasses into one of the lick tanks. That's the whole point of it, is get it into a sheep's belly and turn it, turning food into food again. All right, moment of truth. I got this 2-inch pipe. You see that? That's what I do. That way it can't dribble and get on my pallet or all down the side of my trailer. And then you got to have a dedicated molasses bucket for this, because that's the stickiest thing on the planet. Anyways, look at that. Valve works. Boom. Get that in your belly and turn it into lamb. So this, aside from grain, of course, is our only feed supplement. It's the only thing we add to the hay ration that they get during the wintertime. And then this has all the nutrient, mineral, like our whole mineral program is based around this sheep molasses that comes from Westway. And we buy it through, like I said, my buddy Robin over there at Millionaire Farmer. You may know him if you're local. You may know him as Bloom Enterprises. Actually, fantastic guy. So check him out. And I think once, a couple weeks, maybe not even, we'll see. I'll splash lots of this on some bales, mix in with some grain, get the last of this used up, and I'll get over to his place before he heads off to wherever grain farmers go for the winter, and get me another tote. All right, with all the morning chores taken care of and the molasses figured out, I think it's time to go in for a bite of lunch. My wife wants to head to the ski hill this afternoon for a bit. Perfect day for it, because as you can see, I had to take the big coat off. Holy cow, it is hot. Like, we must be getting close to right around 0. I got the ski pants on, I got my thermal socks on, I had the big coat. Didn't need any of that. So I'm gonna let you go for now. Hopefully you're having a fantastic weekend. We'll see you tomorrow.